Sorry, I haven't been on here for a while. Life has just been mad. And when life gets mad, I tend to minimize everything that I'm doing so that I can focus. And this was one of the things that got cut back. But now that things are slowing down again, I'm hoping that I can get back into making a few of these videos. But today's video, I wanted to talk about getting into an argument with someone and how to approach that whole situation and why you might want to approach it in the way that I'm describing. And in order to sort of share this with you, I need to talk about my history and why this is an important topic for me. So, I basically grew up as an only child. My sister, she was 10, or she is 10 years older than I am. And so I was kind of like the only child in the house. And so I was, I guess, used to getting what I wanted. I didn't have to, I didn't have to fight with my siblings in order to get the things I wanted. I was just kind of just have them. And so I guess to some degree, I became quite entitled. And I carried this with me throughout my adolescence. And entitlement, another way of looking at entitlement is the idea that you are, for whatever reason, special, that you are privileged to the right kinds of information and facts. And to top this off, I was a pretty smart kid. Like, wasn't book smart, but I was smart and able to argue and win arguments. In addition to this, I was also not very self-assured. I, age 10, my parents split up, and I blamed myself for this, as every 10-year-old does. And my home environment, in the lead up to the breakup, as well as afterwards, became pretty fractured. It wasn't an unsafe environment. I was very lucky in that fact. It was still a loving environment. Like, I received love from my mum and my dad and my sister, but it wasn't a classic stable family dynamic, right? And I reflect on it now, and that instability made me feel unstable, right? And so if I was to have an argument about something or get into a disagreement, the losing of that argument didn't only mean that I'd lost the argument, it meant that I'd lost myself and that there was something wrong with me. So I was attaching way too much of my value to the outcomes of an argument. Why is this important? Because by attaching my self-worth to the outcome of an argument, I don't have any choice but to win that argument. I don't have any choice but to win that argument, because if I lose, then there's something wrong with me, right? And so it's this desperate attempt to identify with an idea, or even a meta idea, the idea that you should have the right ideas, that when I lost, it would all come crumbling down. And so this went on for a while. Fast forward 10 years, and I'm in my late 20s, and I'm trying to sort of build a profile for myself as a physiotherapist. And by um, doing so, you need to sort of take a stance on some of these dividing topics in physiotherapy. Believe it or not, physiotherapy has dividing topics. And the dividing topic I kind of took a stance on was um, the management of pain through more holistic strategies such as exercise and teaching the person about the problem, exploring their psychology of pain, these sorts of things versus manual therapy and manipulation and I guess these disease focused ways of managing pain. So I went over this side, and I found that I was attaching way too much of my value as a human being to being right in the arguments against the other side. So much so that when I received a notification on my phone to say that someone had engaged with my post, I would instantly feel panic, right? Because that engagement not only meant that I needed to get in there and jump on my phone and start to reply to this person to win the argument, which was just stressful most of the time, but that engagement meant that there was an attack on my ego. And so the cycle continued. My wife, she noticed that it was having a pretty negative impact on my well-being. And man, I love her. She said something along the lines of, "Oh, you spend a bit of time on there, don't you?" Just so gentle. And I realized, like, what, because she thinks quite deeply about things. And I realized that that meant that she was concerned. And so I thought, all right, I need to do something about this. And so even though I was trying to build up this public profile as, a knowledgeable physio pain guy, I got off that and I paused my account, deleted it off my phone, wasn't able to access it very easily. And after 4 weeks, I realized that I just didn't need it anymore. And I haven't been back on that social media. And I felt much better. But that didn't solve the issue, right? There was still this issue of me feeling as though I needed to be right about things. So when did I decide to change that? Fast forward another few years, and I was having an argument with my dad. And we were arguing about something to do with my family. And it was a deep argument, very, very upsetting. And we were yelling at each other, and it was nasty. And I was just thinking to myself, like, in the aftermath, like, is this the kind of relationship I want to have with my dad? And after reflecting, I realized that no. And what had happened there was that it wasn't our ideas clashing with each other, it was our egos. It was our egos clashing with each other. And what I had to do was I had to find a way to approach an argument or a disagreement without getting my ego involved, without this belief that if I lost this argument, then I'd lose myself. And to do so, I realized that there are three crucial things that you have to do in any argument. The first is to remind yourself that you are comfortable with the outcome, no matter what that is. That no matter what the outcome is, you are okay. Right? That's the first thing. Physical reminder, just go, breathe out. I'm okay with the outcome in your head. The second thing you do is you adopt a genuine curiosity for the other person's perspective and try to understand how they got to that perspective. So you might say something like, "Oh, that's quite different than what I believe, but like, what is it that you believe, and how did you get there?" Genuine interest, acknowledging the fact that you might disagree, but genuinely interested in what the person has to say. They're the first two, right? Then the third one is harder to do, and that is just to shut the hell up. Don't argue with the person. Don't share your opinion until it's brutally clear that that person has shared what they want to share, right? And while you're sharing, you validate the crap out of them. So you just go like, "Oh yeah, cool, I see how you got there." Or, right, "Oh, that makes sense." At the end of the day, people are pretty clever. They come to their opinions often in a pretty clever way, right? You just got to give them credit for that. So you've got this idea that you don't attach to the outcome. You you pay close attention to what they're saying, and you maintain curiosity. And then lastly, you allow you allow them to get their point across, and you listen, right? And you just kind of you just don't blurt out your opinions. By doing this, what I've noticed is that A, I change my mind more often, so I'm more flexible in my thinking. B, the times I've had an argument with people, I don't feel as panicked by it. I don't necessarily enjoy them, depending on the argument, but it doesn't affect me as much. And C, I actually, have had like I've had circumstances where I've changed my mind. Sorry, where then they've changed their mind just because they can see that I'm someone who's actively listening and taking an interest, but there's these subconscious cues that I disagree. Right. So that's the message for today. There's no point in having an argument with someone in which you're both deeply tied to the ideas that you're arguing for. You just throw the ideas out into the ether and see how they stack up against each other. And you take the time to really understand what that other person's idea is before you start to share your own. Okay. Well, I hope this idea was helpful. Don't attach to it too much. But I hope it was helpful. It definitely helped me, and it continues to help me have better conflict with people. Good conflict. If you liked it, please subscribe, leave a comment, uh, push that notification button if you'd like to see more videos like this, where I'm just having a casual chat with you about ideas that I've found useful in my own life and that I think might be useful in yours too. Until next time, take care.